Welcome to another deep dive. This time, we're taking you inside the White House. And not just the Oval Office, but the rooms where presidents hung out with some pretty unusual pets. We're talking bears, tigers, even an alligator or two. Luckily, we've got our expert here to unpack it all.
It's going to be a wild ride through presidential history. And we'll uncover some White House secrets along the way. Did you know there might be a secret tunnel leading all the way to the Treasury building?
That's what I love about these deep dives. There's always something new to discover. Let's start with the White House itself. It's easy to forget it wasn't always this symbol of power. Construction began way back in 1792.
And it wasn't a quick build either. It took 8 years to complete.
8 years.
Yeah. Can you imagine the anticipation?
Oh, absolutely.
President John Adams finally moved in 1800, making him the first resident.
I bet he was thrilled to be the first to test out those 35 bathrooms. Wait, 35 bathrooms.
It does make you wonder about those presidential plumbing bills.
That's more bathrooms than I have rooms in my entire house.
But seriously, the White House is a sprawling complex, 132 rooms, including some pretty historic spaces. Have you ever heard of the Resolute desk in the Oval Office?
The one where the president signs all those important documents.
That's the one. And it has quite a story behind it. It was a gift from Queen Victoria, crafted from the timbers of a British ship, the HMS Resolute.
Talk about a desk with history.
Right.
Okay, I have to admit, that's pretty cool. A piece of a ship in the Oval Office. All right, enough about the house. Let's talk pets. We're starting our presidential pet parade with the big guy himself, George Washington.
Now, Washington was an outdoorsman, so it's no surprise he had a pack of hounds. He especially loved American foxhounds with names like Sweetlips, Scentwell, and Vulcan.
His name sounds straight out of a historical novel.
Quite a crew.
He also had horses, of course, like Nelson and Blueskin. I bet those stables were impressive back then.
You know, speaking of impressive, it's remarkable that this building has survived so long. It even survived a fire in 1814 when the British burned it down during the War of 1812.
Talk about a major renovation project.
Thankfully, it was rebuilt. And in 1901, President Theodore Roosevelt,
Yes, the same one with the pet badger.
officially named it the White House.
It makes you wonder if having all those pets inspired him to make it official.
But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's move on to John Adams, our second president. He continued the presidential pet tradition with his own horses and dogs.
So pets were a White House fixture right from the start.
Yeah,
I wonder if they ever got to explore those rumored secret tunnels.
we can only imagine. But let's not get sidetracked. Next up is Thomas Jefferson, a president known for his intellect and curiosity. And it turns out his taste in pets was just as diverse.
He wasn't afraid to break the mold, that's for sure.
He had a Briard, a herding dog, which isn't too unusual, but he also had a mockingbird named Dick who would perch on his shoulder as he played the violin.
Now that's a presidential image I've never seen before.
And if you think that's unusual, get this. Jefferson also kept bear cubs at the White House.
Bear cubs in the White House. Can you imagine the chaos?
It was a different time, for sure.
Okay, after that image, I need to hear what the next president brought to the White House.
Well, James Madison had a talking parrot.
A talking parrot.
Sadly, its name has been lost to history. But imagine the conversations that parrot must have overheard.
Maybe that's why they have so many secret tunnels, for escaping the parrot's gossip.
That's one theory. Now, James Monroe, our fifth president, was a bit more traditional with his spaniel.
Okay, things are calming down a bit, at least in terms of pets. But wait, what's this about John Quincy Adams and an alligator?
It's true. The Marquis de Lafayette, a French hero of the American Revolution, gifted Adams with an alligator. And apparently, Adams kept it in a White House bathroom.
An alligator in the bathroom. That's got to be a presidential first. I wonder if they had special alligator-proof towels back then.
Now, that's a question for the historians. But let's not forget another talkative resident, Andrew Jackson's parrot, Pole. This parrot was infamous for its colorful vocabulary, mimicking some of the, shall we say, more spirited language Jackson used.
I bet that parrot had some stories to tell. And speaking of stories, how about Martin Van Buren and his tiger cubs?
Gifted to him by the Sultan of Oman, those tiger cubs caused quite a stir in Washington before being sent to a zoo.
Imagine running into those in the hallway.
Talk about adding some excitement to a state dinner.
It seems like those early presidents really embraced the unexpected when it came to pets. What about William Henry Harrison? Did he keep up the trend?
Unfortunately, Harrison's presidency was short-lived, and there's no record of him having any pets.
Well, not every president needs a furry or scaly companion, right? What matters is their leadership. What about John Tyler? Did he bring any interesting animals to the White House?
John Tyler was a fan of Italian greyhounds, known for their elegance and speed.
Hmm.
It's a fitting choice for a president, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. But then we have James K. Polk, our 11th president, and he breaks the pet trend entirely. No dogs, cats, birds, nothing.
He's one of only 3 presidents who didn't have pets during their time in the White House. It makes you wonder, what was behind that decision? Was he just super busy with presidential stuff? Or maybe not an animal person. It's a little presidential mystery.
Maybe he just couldn't decide between an alligator and a tiger cub. But moving on, Zachary Taylor had a very famous horse, Old Whitey.
Old Whitey wasn't just a pet. He was a war hero, accompanying Taylor during the Mexican-American War. Imagine the stories that horse could tell.
That's amazing. From war hero to presidential pet, Old Whitey really lived a full life. Okay, what's next on our pet parade?
Millard Fillmore had ponies, which sounds charming. And then Franklin Pierce had a Japanese chin, those adorable little lap dogs.
I can just picture them snuggled up in the Oval Office. Then we come to James Buchanan, who had a Newfoundland dog named Laura, and even a pair of bald eagles. Talk about patriotic pets.
He definitely went all out. And speaking of presidential pets with personality, Abraham Lincoln had quite the menagerie.
Lincoln and animals, it just feels right.
He had it all. A dog named Fido, cats, rabbits, ponies, goats, and even a turkey named Jack. It must have been a lively household. He was known for his compassion, and his love for animals was well documented.
It's heartwarming to think of Lincoln finding solace in his pets during such a tumultuous time in history. Okay, what about Andrew Johnson? Any interesting pets there?
Well, Johnson had an unusual fondness for white mice. He actually considered them pets and would feed them regularly.
White mice. Okay, that's a new one. I guess presidents really do come in all types, just like their pets.
Absolutely. And then we have Ulysses S. Grant, another president with a love for horses. He also had ponies and dogs. Horses were still very important during that era, both practically and symbolically.
They represent strength, freedom. Very fitting for a president. Okay, I'm ready for more presidential pet trivia. Who's next?
Rutherford B. Hayes had quite the mix. Dogs, canaries, and a Siamese cat named Siam. Siam was actually the first Siamese cat to live in the White House, marking the start of a long line of presidential felines.
Siam, the trailblazer. I wonder if there's a portrait of Siam hanging somewhere in the White House.
Wouldn't that be something? Now, after Hayes, we have James A. Garfield and his dog Vito. Unfortunately, Garfield's presidency was cut short, and we don't know much about Vito's time in the White House.
It's a reminder that history is full of untold stories, even when it comes to presidential pets. What about Chester A. Arthur? Did he have any pets?
It's a mystery. Our sources don't mention any, so maybe he was more of a people person. Or maybe he was allergic to everything.
Maybe he just wanted to focus on redecorating those 35 bathrooms. But let's move on to Grover Cleveland, who had 2 non-consecutive terms. Did his taste in pets change between presidencies?
It seems he was a creature of habit. Both times he had poodles, mockingbirds, and canaries. It sounds like a very musical White House.
I wonder if they ever had jam sessions with the presidents.
Okay, what about Benjamin Harrison? Did he keep the musical theme going?
Harrison had a dog named Dash, but he also had 2 opossums named Mr. Reciprocity and Mr. Protection. Opossums. Those are some interesting choices, and those names sound like they could be straight out of a political cartoon.
Maybe he brought them to cabinet meetings for inspiration.
No, that's an image. Okay, I can't wait to hear what William McKinley brought to the White House. Was it as unusual as opossums?
McKinley had parrots named Washington Post and Chicago, which are pretty clever names for a president. He also had some adorable kittens, so it was a mix of talkative and cuddly in his White House.
I bet those parrots could recite the Gettysburg Address by heart. And finally, we've reached the legendary Theodore Roosevelt, a man known for his love of the outdoors and his larger-than-life personality. What kind of pets did he have?
Get ready for this, because Roosevelt's White House was basically a zoo. He had dogs, cats, horses, guinea pigs, snakes, a badger named Josiah, a bear named Jonathan Edwards, a hyena, a macaw, and even a pony named Algonquin.
Hold on. A hyena.
And a pony.
In the White House.
And it gets even better. Algonquin, the pony, actually rode the White House elevator. Apparently, Roosevelt's son was sick, and they brought the pony up in the elevator to cheer him up.
A pony in the elevator. Okay, that officially wins the award for most unusual presidential pet moment. It sounds like Roosevelt really brought the Wild West to Washington, D.C.
He definitely wasn't afraid to shake things up, both politically and in terms of his pets. But we're not done yet. Stay tuned because when we come back, we'll explore even more furry, feathery, and scaly companions, from cows to raccoons to even more alligators.
Wow, what a journey through presidential pet history. We've seen everything from bear cubs to tiger cubs to a pony riding in the White House elevator. I'm starting to think those secret tunnels were actually built for the pets.
Maybe they needed a way to get to their secret underground pet parties? But seriously, it's amazing to see how the White House has been home to such a diverse range of animals over the years.
And it wasn't just the exotic animals that caught my attention. Hearing about those dogs who served in wars alongside their presidents, that's incredible. It makes you realize these animals were more than just pets. They were companions, confidants, even heroes.
You're absolutely right. And when you think about it, the choice of pet often reflects the president's personality or the time period they lived in.
Like how those early presidents had horses, a symbol of power and exploration, just like the nation itself was exploring its new identity.
Exactly. And as we moved into the 20th century, dogs became more popular, reflecting a shift toward companionship and family values. Remember Fala, FDR's Scottish Terrier?
Oh, of course.
He was a symbol of hope and resilience during World War II.
And then there's Pushinka, the dog gifted to JFK by Khrushchev, a furry ambassador in the midst of the Cold War. It's amazing how pets can bridge political divides.
It's a reminder that even in times of conflict, there's a shared humanity that connects us all, and animals have a way of reminding us of that.
So after Theodore Roosevelt's pet extravaganza, did things calm down a bit in the White House?
Well, William Howard Taft kept things practical with Pauline Wayne, a cow who provided fresh milk for the White House. Talk about farm to table.
A cow in the White House. I guess when you're president, you can have anything delivered. Okay, what about Woodrow Wilson?
Wilson had a flock of sheep, including one named Old Ike, who apparently had a fondness for chewing tobacco.
Okay.
He also had cats, dogs, and songbirds, making the White House sound like a peaceful retreat.
From tiger cubs to tobacco-chewing sheep,
Ugh.
this White House has seen it all. Okay, what about Warren G. Harding? Did he have a favorite pet?
Harding adored his Airedale Terrier, Laddie Boy, so much that he had a special chair made for him in the cabinet room. And Calvin Coolidge's White House was like a mini zoo, with dogs, cats, raccoons, donkeys, a goose, a bobcat, a pygmy hippopotamus, and canaries.
Wait, did you say a pygmy hippopotamus?
It's true.
I think we need to hear more about that.
Coolidge was a big animal lover, and his White House reflected that. But the most famous Coolidge pet was Rebecca the raccoon. She was originally meant for Thanksgiving dinner, but the Coolidge family pardoned her and kept her as a pet.
That's such a heartwarming story. I bet Rebecca had much more fun exploring those secret tunnels than ending up on a dinner plate.
I'd say so. And then we have Herbert Hoover, another president with an alligator. He also had a Belgian shepherd named King Tut and some fox terriers.
Okay, I'm starting to think presidents had a secret alligator club. But moving on, we have Franklin D. Roosevelt and his iconic Scottish Terrier, Fela.
Fela was more than just a pet. He was FDR's constant companion and a symbol of hope during those difficult years of World War II.
It's incredible to think how much comfort and joy these animals brought to the presidents, especially during times of stress and uncertainty. What about Harry S. Truman? Did he have any special furry friends?
Truman had a Cocker Spaniel named Feller, and Dwight D. Eisenhower had a Weimaraner named Heidi. Then we come to John F. Kennedy, whose Welsh Terrier, Charlie, was often seen playing with JFK's children on the White House lawn.
Those pictures are so iconic, a real glimpse into the personal lives of the first family. And of course, there's Pushinka, the dog gifted to Kennedy by Khrushchev. Talk about a furry peace offering.
It was a powerful symbol of diplomacy, showing that even during the Cold War, there were moments of connection and shared humanity.
Okay, we're getting closer to modern times. What about Lyndon B. Johnson? Any interesting pet stories there?
Johnson was known for his beagles, him and her, and a white collie named Blanco. His beagles were often seen with him at the White House, although he did cause a bit of controversy when he picked one up by the ears during a photo op.
Oops. Maybe not the best way to handle a dog. What about Richard Nixon? His Cocker Spaniel, Checkers, was quite famous.
Checkers became a household name thanks to Nixon's checker speech during his vice presidential campaign. It's amazing how a dog can become such a part of American political history.
Definitely. And after Nixon, we have Gerald Ford and his golden retriever, Liberty, who even went swimming with Ford in the White House pool.
Golden retrievers and swimming pools, a classic combination. Then there's Jimmy Carter with his Siamese cat, Misty Malarkey Yin Yang, and a dog named Grits.
Those are some unique names. What about Ronald Reagan?
Reagan had a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel named Rex, along with other dogs and horses. And George H.W. Bush's English Springer Spaniel, Millie, became a celebrity in her own right, even writing a book that became a bestseller.
From presidential pets to published authors, those White House animals are full of surprises. What about Bill Clinton? He was known for his cat, Socks.
Socks, the tuxedo cat, was a media sensation during Clinton's presidency. He even had his own fan club. And of course, there was Buddy, the Labrador retriever.
It seems like every president finds their own way to connect with animals, whether it's through dogs, cats, or even a pygmy hippopotamus.
Exactly. It's a reminder that even the most powerful people in the world have a soft spot for their furry friends. What about George W. Bush? What pets did he bring to the White House?
He had those adorable Scottish terriers, Barney and Miss Beasley. They were always popping up in photos and videos.
They were definitely social media stars before social media was even a thing. And then we have Barack Obama and his Portuguese water dogs, Bo and Sunny.
Those were some stylish dogs. And finally, we come to Donald Trump, who broke with tradition and didn't have any pets in the White House.
It was a definite shift, and it sparked a lot of conversations about the role of pets in the presidency.
And now we have Joe Biden and his German Shepherds, Champ and Major, and their cat, Willow. Major even made history as the first shelter dog to live in the White House.
It was a heartwarming moment that resonated with animal lovers all over the country.
Wow, what a journey. We've covered over 200 years of presidential pet history, and it's been fascinating to see how these animals have reflected the personalities of their presidents and the changing times in America.
It's a reminder that the White House is more than just a symbol of power. It's also been a home filled with love, laughter, and the companionship of some truly amazing animals.
So after diving into all these incredible stories, what's the biggest takeaway for you? What should our listeners think about as they walk away from this deep dive?
I think it's the power of the human-animal bond. No matter who you are, even the President of the United States, animals have a way of bringing joy, comfort, and a sense of connection to our lives.
I couldn't agree more. It's been a privilege to learn about these presidential pets and to see how they've touched the lives of so many people. A huge thank you to our expert for sharing your incredible knowledge with us.
It's been my pleasure.
And to all our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more fascinating deep dives into all sorts of topics.
Until next time, keep exploring.